I'm not a fan of the horror genre, but I took a leap of faith this weekend and saw Weapons movie, and I'm so glad I did, and I overcame my fears because it was wildly entertaining. Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, my name is Troy. Welcome back to my channel. And again, so stoked that I pushed myself to see Weapons this weekend as I was really entertained by it. Again, I'm not a fan of the horror genre too much. I don't like scary stuff. I don't like scary movies. But again, I wanted to push myself and see this because it has gotten a lot of love online the last few days. It's gotten a really high score on Rotten Tomatoes. The reactions have been really positive to this. And so I said, let's go check out and see what the hype is. I've heard it was bananas, and guys, this movie is bananas. I'm not going to look at one of these peelers the same anyway after what we saw. There will be spoilers ahead, but I just want to share some of my thoughts with you guys. I did have some critiques too, some things that, again, might just be my unfamiliarity with the genre, but I wanted to share some of those too. Now, what I did love about this movie is the structure of the plot. I'm a big fan of movies that offer what happens over different perspectives of different characters, and I thought the movie did that very well of introducing different perspectives from Justine and from Archer and from other characters like the principal and Alex himself at the end. And so I thought it was a really clever way to introduce the plot and also tease out the mystery of what was to come. You know, it didn't really give you everything at once. So there was some really good exposition at the beginning of this film here with a voiceover of what happened. I thought the different plot points, different point of views from that really lent to a good mystery playing out where you had to think a little bit and put the pieces together. And so I was really appreciative of how the story did that. I think it did it very well. There was many times where I'm like, I have no idea what's going to happen. I have no idea what's coming next. And so I really appreciated the time they took to do that. Because I think with a movie like this, you can almost rush that and get this to an hour and a half runtime. But this was pushing a little over 2 hours. And so I'm glad that we had the extra time with these characters to experience these different things to try to piece the mystery together. And some of the action was just absolutely nuts. Like when we saw the principal be cast under the spell and just beat his partner's head in with his own head was just diabolical. It was absolutely insane when we saw that happen. And then later on too, when Justine and the police officer are fighting as well, and she takes the peeler and just starts peeling his face, absolutely nuts. And just that whole sequence was totally crazy. And then shout out the end when the kids are released as they hunt after Gladys and they literally rip her to shreds. They're biting her skin off. They literally tear her face open. It was absolutely nuts. That was a hilarious part of the movie, seeing those kids chase her and just run through different houses and the reactions of the people involved in those houses. It was so funny. I think this in some ways is more almost like a dark comedy because there was a lot of funny moments in it and not just a horror film. But I was really just into how widely entertaining a lot of those sequences were. They were just so good. And a lot of the performances were great. Julia Garner is the star of this movie. She's so good in this role and kind of, you know, getting you to think, okay, I want to believe her, but is there a piece of the mystery? Is she involved in this? And I thought she did a good job, especially when they had her character kind of stalking Alex a little bit and not being able to stop. And it's like, okay, is there some connection here? And so I thought she did a great job of portraying that. She just was so good. And also, Josh Brolin was fantastic as well. As that grieving dad, just, you know, obsessed with finding his son, obsessed with finding out what was going on to him. He did such a good job. I was really impressed with Josh Brolin in the role. The two of them together had great chemistry as well, especially when they started working together after he saved her later on in the movie. But just all around really good performances. Gladys was insanely creepy as well. She really played that role great. As that character was so, I was like, the first time she comes on screen, you're like, okay, she is definitely somebody that we need to be careful of. And that actress was just incredible in portraying that role. But again, I do have some criticisms too. I think one is the pacing. There were some pacing points throughout this movie where it was dragging quite a bit, especially at some of the beginning. As much as I did appreciate the exposition at the beginning of the film, I think it almost was borderline too much. I think they could have pulled that back a little bit. And there were other pacing parts through some of the different side characters that I think weren't as important per se to the story. where I was like, I don't know if we need this. I think we can kind of move past this. And so, like I said, it's not perfect in terms of the pacing. Overall, the plot is structured very well, but there were times where I was like, okay, we can move on, or this is taking too long. And so the movie just isn't free of those moments. And it's not perfect in that regard, which is okay. And secondly, and this might be just my inexperience with the genre, is I think that there were some unanswered questions, specifically with why Gladys needed these children in terms of feeling better, and how it was putting people under the spell was potentially cure her. You know, they alluded to the fact that, hey, that she moved in with her niece and nephew and Alex to put them under her spell because she thought that would make her not sick anymore. And then when that didn't work, we saw her tell Alex that, hey, essentially, you know, that she wanted the classroom, the kids, the 17 kids involved, that she might feel better that way. And so I thought we were going to get that. I thought they were going to explain why she needed the children to do that, but they didn't. And again, that might just be my unfamiliarity with the genres. I don't watch a whole lot of these movies, and maybe that's just kind of the par for the course with these sort of things, where there is those unanswered questions. But I would have appreciated them explaining why she needed them, you know, why she needed them to feel better, because I was assuming it was that maybe the longer they're under the spell, or how many people that she has under the spell, she just gets strength from that. Again, it was confusing. I just wish they would have took the time to do that. But again, that just might be how the genre typically is. If it is, let me know in the comments, because if I'm wrong, I'd like to know that and just understand that, hey, this is just how these movies go. I was just really entertained by this. Taking a step outside of my comfort zone. Again, I'm the type of guy who does not like these sort of things. It's more so the sound than it is the sight of it. So I'm this guy in the theater covering my ears because I just don't want to be scared in that way. But you know, there are a few moments like that in this movie. But again, I thought it was just an overall a really good mystery thriller, and in the dark comedy in that sort of way too. Because again, there are a lot of funny moments in this movie. And so if you enjoy this genre, if you enjoy the mystery thriller side of things, I think you will really like this movie, as there are a lot of good pieces to that make it just so wildly entertaining. I almost want to see it again now that I know where those scary jump points are, so I can kind of pay more attention to the plot and pick up on cute clues that might have been introduced that I just didn't see at the time because I was too busy covering my ears. But I'd be curious to look at more of it in that way too. So a rewatch might be happening. But if you saw Weapons this weekend, what did you think? Let me know in the comments as well. Leave a like if you liked this video. Subscribe for more content, guys. Thanks for tuning in.